He's
Okay.
working on it,
Getting
but
there.
I have him on speakerphone so he can hear what you're saying.
Great, great.
Just tell him to click on the link. That's
I
all.
did.
I did, and it came out invalid ID. Find the meeting ID number. Let me see what happens here. If I can join the meeting, this should do it.
Well, your voice sounds very loud. We can hear you. So whatever you're doing, stay
I don't care
there.
if we see you, Stu.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting at my desk trying to get on to this
Or
meeting.
as we can hear you, that's the only.
Okay.
Stu,
let-
I
Yeah, as long
also,
as we can hear you.
Colleen, I'm
Stu.
here.
oh, there he is.
There he
Yeah.
is. Hallelujah.
Thank you. Thank
All right, you're
everybody.
on. I'm
Thanks, man.
hanging up. Bye.
Is he on?
Oh, somebody said he was.
Yeah, he's
I see his,
There he
is.
I don't see him.
but he's muted.
Unmute him. All right, deep breath. I'd like to welcome, I'm going to open the meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Land Use Board meeting of December 7th, 2020. We will start by saluting our gorgeous flag. I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the
the
flag of the
flag
United
of
States
States
of
of America.
America.
the United States of America and to the republic
Republic
for which it stands,
stands
One
one
nation,
nation,
God,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty,
and justice for all.
liberty and justice
justice
for all. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the entrance hall of Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to Beach Haven Times and the Asbury Park Press. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision for each individual application. Decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Roll call, Mayor Davis,
here,
Mr. Caxton,
Here.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Here.
Mr. Stevens,
Here.
Mr. Pisano,
Here.
Mr. Meadow, Mr. Muha,
Here.
Mr. Herensky,
Here.
Mrs. Eddles,
Here.
Mr. Genna,
He's muted.
Jenna, unmute yourself.
Here.
Mr. Tinquist,
Here.
Mrs. Baxter,
Here.
Mrs. Lenhard.
Here. Okay, moving right along, we have our new business. Do we have a motion for approval of the meeting, the minutes? I want to compliment Colleen on getting these minutes out. We've never had the minutes done and to us before the next meeting. It's been rare. So I think she needs a big thank you for getting these minutes out before the next meeting. So
Colleen, could ask
Kudos
Colleen
to you,
please copy
Colleen.
me with him?
Yes,
do I have a motion to approve the meetings?
So move. Penny.
Penny? Second? Bonnie?
Second.
Whatever.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is approval of the bills that have been sent out. Everybody should have seen them. Any questions about the bills? Do I have a motion to approve the bills?
motion to approve.
Thanks, Nance.
Second.
Penny?
Who was second? I'm sorry. Penny?
Penny?
Penny.
Yeah, that's,
Mayor Davis?
Yes,
Mr. Caxton?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Pisano?
Yes.
Mr. Muha?
Yes.
Mr. Herensky?
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles?
yes.
Mr. Jenna?
Yes.
Mr. Tinquist?
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lenhard.
Yes. Okay, the following applications have been reviewed by the three-person committee and approved. It's Quincy's Lobster Rolls that will be moving into Schooner's Wharf. 806 North Bay Avenue. It's been approved for a change of use from retail to takeout restaurant.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Bonnie? We just got that a couple minutes ago before the meeting and I typed it in. Is that where Tula's was?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just confused on how it went to the 3-person review when the Euro place changed from the Sunglass Menagerie to the Euro place, the gyro, however you pronounce that. And then the Salsa Shack also came before us when it went from residential to change of use for the Salsa Shack. So how come that went before you? It's when those other 2 went before us.
Well, I think it was basically because of their site plan as far as wait a minute. Something just came up. Hold on a second. Please request recording permission from the meeting host. Okay.
Don't click that.
Don't? Just
No.
click it off.
Is there like a cancel something?
It says, please request recording permission from the meeting host.
Yeah,
I
that
just-
means you're gonna take over my control essentially.
So I'm just going to click the red X and click it off.
Yeah.
Okay. There.
Yeah.
I don't know. Donna Marie sent this to me and it went back and forth and she just says it was a change of use and the site plan was pretty much the same. They weren't, the parking wasn't an issue. It was just basically putting tables up and changing the use from retail to
Are they cooking?
food.
There's no kitchen in there.
Right.
So that's what
Oh,
I didn't
The
understand how.
food was going to be, I guess, all pre-made and brought in.
I actually, during that 3-man committee, Bonnie, mentioned that and wrote, I thought maybe this should be, a full application.
You
I didn't
better
really
have-
back.
I was told that you approved it.
I did based on what everybody else said that it didn't need to be, but my first reaction was, why isn't this being a full application?
I mean, it's a change of use.
Right, from retail to,
I mean, just to be consistent.
Based on what we talked about, I believe it was 2 months ago, I thought it would be better that these situations become a full application as opposed to the 3-man. I think we discussed what the 3-man committee was originally designed for. And my initial reaction was this one was outside the scope of that.
well, do you want them to come before? I mean, they've been approved. It's pretty, I don't know if you can go back now and tell them no.
I think we
Well-
just need to be sure of how to do this. I thought we were disbanding the 3-person committee and.
Well, we discussed it,
Right.
but we
I thought
can't,
we all thought that
we
was the
can't, the land use board can't disband it.
I think what was discussed was looking at the 3-member committee and leaving that stand. However, if it didn't pass muster at 3-member committee, it would come to a full board. What was, we felt there was a problem was when it got to the $75, it came to the board and it was a hybrid site plan application, which really we were trying to do as an accommodation. But after last month's meeting, when we saw what was happening, the board thought maybe the governing body should reconsider that. I think when we started with this, there were different groups. And each group, each type of business or use of a building had their own parking requirements. Once the borough went to a straight square footage parking requirement, not taking into account employee parking or occupants, actual occupancy of the building and the uses, it took away any differentiation. So any real change short of doing work in the building may qualify for either the 3-member committee or the $75 shortcut, which really isn't covered in the ordinance. I would think that with a restaurant particularly, we've run into this before, and if they're putting seating in, the seating I don't think is as much as an issue as if they're putting exhaust systems in based upon where they're located and what effect they're going to have to the surrounding area. And you'll see in Albright, the key there is there's no exhaust system. And one of the things in the resolution is it's limited to that. Because if they had an exhaust system, you're going to have neighbors who would have been happy having a little creperie next door to them until they're cooking or deep frying French fries, and the smell is going wafting into their yards and their patios. So I don't know where you're going with it, but if the 3-member committee felt that there's not a kitchen being constructed here, if that's the case, and I think what Bonnie said, it's a takeout restaurant. So they're selling food, and the question we came to, and I think we were somewhat with the Salsa Shack, we're still not finished with that because we really didn't have enough information. And that was taking a garage basically, which the board, I think, was unaware of until we further went into it when we went to adopt the resolution, that this was somewhat different in there. And I think Tom Meadow raised some questions which probably should have been raised when they were before us regarding what's happening with the stairway. And there may have been some confusion with the plan that was before us because it may not have jived with what a survey of the property would show.
Hey,
So
Stu,
that's why they're coming back.
I'm looking at the drawings now, and what confused me about it initially is there's not a lot of changes. There is no kitchen, but who decides that it's not part of the 3-man? How do we determine
The
that?
3-member committee was always set that if they didn't have a majority, it would go to the next step. That's who decides. The actual committee makes that decision.
Well, the question that I posed to Donna Marie was, I thought this was outside of the scope because of the change. However, it's confusing because there's no kitchen, and it really, I don't know. There's no kitchen here. There's no exhaust. There's no nothing. It's a very, very little change. So this is a weird one.
But apparently you voted for it, Ken, as did the other 2 members of the committee.
Because there was no kitchen and there was no real change.
But that
However,
was your prerogative under the way it's written. I mean,
correct.
Okay.
But my point
Does that
is
answer
there-
your question, Jamie? That's
Yeah, it just kind of vague on the agenda because it says takeout restaurant.
right. Well, this was kind of added at the last minute. It kind of.
Yeah, so I mean,
it was a while ago, so.
where are they making the food? I'm just curious. I mean,
I guess they bring it in like everybody else, like salsa people are bringing it in. Years ago when I had the cheese wheel behind Rommel's, there were none of these regulations and we did everything in the cheese wheel.
right.
But you had to be certified by the health department wherever you make your food. Like you couldn't make it in your home and bring it in. I don't know what the rules are now.
Right.
So I would
So now-
think they have a health improved kitchen
but I
where,
think if they're still doing food handling, Bonnie, they're going to need Board of Health approval anyway to operate that business.
right, the Board of Health comes in and approves you for all these different things, so.
But I guess my second question is now that it's approved to a takeout restaurant, if this lobster roll place doesn't work, someone else could come in and put in a full kitchen and it's already been approved as a takeout restaurant, or would that have to come back?
I would think that you want to, I think what should be
Has to
done
come
on the
back.
approval is we
Okay.
limit it to what's going in
Right.
there without food preparation on site and without a kitchen. So
Right.
so down the road, it doesn't turn into
Yeah, can't.
Right, a
a
restaurant, would-
an actual takeout restaurant. I think that's somewhat of a misnomer. It's takeout similar to what I think that salsa place is. I think they make sandwiches in Bay Village, the
Right.
hot sauce place. I think they came in for permission to put sandwiches together.
When
But I
part
think you have to limit when you give these approvals, there has to be the limitations of what really have to be there, or actually what's not there is not permitted. Without-
Yeah,
wouldn't part of it be if they have to draw a building permit, then they have to come into the board? Otherwise, if it's just a change of tenant, et cetera, then it can go to the 3-person board.
But that's what, you know what, Jim, that's how it started. And that, it was a change of tenant and it was going to be the same type of use. But once we changed the parking requirements, all these uses fell into one group. And I think even if you wanted to put some small kitchen or kitchenette in, you may not need a permit. You may be able to bring in, portable cooking equipment, which people have done, and
Well,
create a situation where it's more than what was approved.
If you have to
Right? I
start
think you
bringing
have to
in,
specify And the committee, the board members are gonna have to look at that and see what the far-reaching effects are. And if that's the case, you limit, tell the people they can do this, but if they try to do something else, they're not approved.
Well, if you have to do electrical work, if you have to do plumbing work, you have to draw a building permit. So therefore it shouldn't be the.
I
board.
still think it's a change of use. And so to blanketly just give an approval on a 3-person committee, I think everyone has to be very careful with that.
Any other comments? All right, we're going to move along to our resolutions. Resolution 2020-15, which was Judy Nichols, the Salsa Shack. We sort of passed them but they needed to come back with a revised site plan. There were questions concerning the site plan and the measurements. Nicole had a concern about the deck, the size of the deck, the stairs, the fence. And I was told today that the people that own the property, I think their name is Close, are having the property surveyed. So there's an up-to-date survey of the property, which should show the actual sizes. And once that is complete, then she will come in with a site plan. So that's all I know about that.
And so when I spoke to Colleen this morning, Colleen had resolution. I said, I really can't do a resolution because there are a lot of questions unanswered.
Right.
That we needed to have answered. And that's what I thought was going to happen at this meeting, but she did not get the plan in time. So we'll just continue to carry it. But
Okay.
I'd keep a tight string on it just to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks.
I will. This is happening more and more, though. Applications to me they get passed, but they're not quite fine-tuned. So we have to keep remembering to go back and check on them and make sure that everything is copacetic. So anyway, moving on to the next resolution is 2020-16, which are the Albrights for the Creperia. Again, we wanted a revised site plan. They did send us a revised site plan. Everybody has their copy?
Yes.
And has everybody had a chance to look at it? And do you have any questions? There it is. Up on our. There.
I couldn't vote on this, but I just was questioning. I thought they said that I couldn't see 24 outdoor seating spaces.
Well, there's 6 at each.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. Right in the front there, they have 4
Yes.
more. Okay, got it. Okay. I didn't see those when I looked. I guess now that I'm looking far away, I see it.
I have a question about what is that jagged line between the cars?
That it says there, it looks like it's a fence.
I know, but then how could a car get in there if you had a
There's
fence?
supposed to be a gate. And I don't know how that was supposed, ask Frank.
Yeah,
Frank,
right now it's showed as a 3-foot picket fence with a gate. So I'm assuming they want to have a space on the inside of the fence. I guess they would have to open the gate to drive through it.
To drive the car through?
Yeah, we were concerned that we really weren't looking for people to drive there and park. The cars are really for the residents.
Right. And
we're asking them to market for residential
Right.
only. We really, I think the board's consensus at the last meeting was, people backing out on Beach Avenue could really create a problem.
Disaster.
So
And
I
I
don't
think-
really have an issue. We want to have a picket fence with a gate and park one's car inside the gate.
even though a car doesn't fit through it?
It's kind of interesting. I mean, this is a schematic, so it's going to have to work. In other words, they're going to have to, obviously, they're going to put the fence up and they're not going to shut it on the car.
Well, I think personally, they're going to be using it as their private yard because its grass
Right.
is to remain. So I don't think they'll ever be using it as parking, but
And I think the whole idea of the fence was to separate the residential from the commercial use.
correct.
Just to house
I
their
think that's
personal
just-
car.
That's just a pictorial representation. I don't think it's meant to depict a scaled size of a gate.
You know?
No. I think it's
Okay.
what the computer allocates. I mean, it can't
So
be. just-
they're really blocking off the whole business area from their private residence with that fence. So the porch would never be used, even though the other door, they have a front door to that business, and the only other door is back in the right-hand corner, which goes out to the porch. So are you saying nobody would ever serve and go out that back door to serve people because that's their private residence and there's a fence there?
I'm not saying that. I mean,
They're showing, what they're
Ron, we
showing
could-
is
we
the
could ask
porch,
them
and
that.
they showed their seating, but the actual 6 feet, 600 square foot area is designated. I thought when we spoke, we were concerned about not having a second means of access and egress, and it was represented that they had that back door, and which would be off of part of the commercial property.
Well, how can you not have a back door? I mean, what if there's a fire? How do you get out?
well, I believe that was addressed at the last meeting, and that's what that back door was in. Part of its function was intended to fulfill.
Well, Frank, the way the resolution's written,
egress.
it's subject to your approval. You ought to have them locate the door and have it shown on the
Yeah, and that's
plan.
not an issue. And now that we're all talking about it, I mean, I don't necessarily know if that picket fence should be there and those parking spaces should be paved. Because I don't know how you drive, you're gonna kill the grass. I mean, if you're parking cars on a grass surface. So there might be a little bit more that we need to revise on this plan before everybody signs it. They
But
also
the resolution allows you to sign off on it, Frank. That's what we do. So
I
this
understand
gives,
that. And I'm glad we're talking about it. They also need Ocean County Planning Board approval for that driveway and the sidewalk area. So we can't sign this map officially until those other approvals have been obtained and submitted to us.
All right.
But I will
If
get.
we force them to pave it, are we going to run into pervious surface coverage? I mean,
No, I believe that there's plenty of room there. It's a commercial, there's more than enough room on the property, I believe, that's open. That's that whole rear yard area. So there shouldn't be an issue with coverage.
One question, there is a curb cut there already, and they do pull cars into that area. They've been doing it for years and it's never been paved.
Well, I think we mentioned that whole sidewalk is in bad shape. So that has
It's
to
in
be.
bad shape, but there is a curb, there's a curb cut there.
Yeah,
I
there is.
checked it out
Right.
just recently, and I mean, it's in bad shape, but I mean, for, as long as I've been alive and here, people have pulled cars in there and on the grass.
No, I don't
It's
think
only
that would be
been-
an issue.
Nancy, it wasn't a functioning business. Now it's a
Yeah, well, yeah, but I
Well, it
thought
was
the
at one
cars
time.
were supposed to be for the owners, not for the people eating crepes. I thought that was a space where the owners pull their cars in.
Well, that's true, but it has to be designated and it has to be utilized.
Okay, well, I
Just
just
all of a
mentioned it.
sudden-
They have been using it that way for years. Whatever.
Well, I'll get in touch with them and go over that.
So
oh, I'd like to ask a question on this, as whether they paved the whole thing or put in like concrete or shell runners that you'd put the tires on and leave the middle open. As from the land use board standpoint, why would we care what kind of formatted parking surface they choose?
Good point. I think the concern is that, we're requiring them to provide 2 spaces and you need to know where they are. And if you just put a picket fence up and everything's grass, it could become a backyard with no parking space. So it needs some delineation.
Pavement on there and don't put a car in there. You could
I
put.
mean, maybe what has
in there,
to
it's
happen
the same
is
thing.
maybe the picket fence has to run around the outside of the car spaces instead of between them.
Yeah, but then it gets in the way of the door, and that's. I would
Now,
like.
if you run it along the south side of the parking area, you still have the whole area between the porch and the cars.
right. And
And if
put the
they're gonna
gate
come
at
out-
the front, and put
I
the
don't know if
gate at
they're-
the front.
Right. And I don't know if they're coming out of there, but maybe the gate should be where they could go through the gate to serve people if they come out the back off the porch.
The Albrights are on the call if you had any question for them as well, are on the meeting.
Does anybody have a question?
I can answer the parking question.
Okay,
Basically, when we had talked to Mr. Boretsky and when you guys decided how you wanted us to change it to have the bicycle racks, we wanted to put the gate across, as you said, to designate an area. What we wanted to do is where you see the car on the inside is like you see at some of the other homes here, the older ones, is a brick track that the car would be parked on. Now, we only own one car and have one car right now, but my father, who's 93-year-old, still drives and comes and visits us. So we wanted to make sure that he had an area so that he didn't have to park on 2nd or 3rd Street and walk, or that we could put him somewhere. We were making sure that we followed all your instructions when we had talked to Mr. Borowski about drawing this so that it would meet everything. Now, we are going to put in a permit with that sidewalk because we would like to conform with the town and put a brick sidewalk there. So we can bring the historic value back of this property so that people that do come to our small creperie can enjoy the historic value of this area of the town. If that answers your question.
I don't think we have any problem with that kind of a parking space at all. I think the problem was the gate between the two parking spaces.
It's a double gate that would fit a car, just like you see on some of the other properties here where they have a huge gate, and then there would be a small little gate to walk through also. So if we're not using that big gate to park the car through at the time, then we can use a smaller gate to walk through to get to our private area.
So let me ask you this. When you have your car parked, are you going to park it inside the gate on the grass?
Probably not initially. We would have it parked where the first car is, but there will be, it's not just going to be grass. It's going to be the brick tracks that the tires go.
Gotcha.
And that would be this extra space in case we have personal guests that come, especially my father, so he has a place to park.
But my question and our question is, why couldn't you get rid of that gate and put it on the south side of the parking lot, parking spaces?
What, and make like a little...
I mean, just have a fence along that side and get rid of the gate there. You want it because it gives you more privacy in the back by having the gate between the parking spaces?
Yes, that's what our initial plan was.
Okay.
Plus, right now, the cost of fencing is a lot more than it was a year ago at this time. So we are on a bit of a budget. I mean, so a lot of the different causes are financial too. But if it has to be what it has to be to meet criteria of the borough, then we will do what we have to do it.
You know, hearing what the applicant said, I really don't have an issue with it. I kind of understand what he's trying to do now, but are you serving people by coming off the back porch and then coming through another gate to the front?
No, that's our personal area. The only way people would get, actually, we're not a full service business. So as a courtesy, sometimes we do go outside and serve, especially during the pandemic to keep people out of business, but we would go out the front door of the business.
Okay.
But there is a back door that goes from the old Charlie Cramner business into the private building, but then right off the porch, there's another door, which would be used as, when I talk to the fire marshal, could be, doesn't have to be a fire exit.
So he's not requiring a fire access from the business other than
no, because since there's no open flame in the building and the size of the square footage, which is just 100 foot bigger than what we're in now, didn't require a second exit, but we will make it accessible.
Well, will you have a problem having Jim Brzezowski then at least show us where the doors are on this plan, basically?
Okay, because I can just tell you right now, just to give you an idea, the door is on the north side of that corner where it's shaded.
Right.
That would be that corner, and then an immediate right is the next door that goes out in the porch. If you go left, you go to the stairs that go to the second floor.
All right. I think it would be easy for him to show us the location of the doors on this plan, just so we have a record of it.
Yes.
And
Okay.
leave everything else like it is,
Right.
Frank? Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have no problem with that. As long as you're saying that it's once the regulations for the driveway go, that
Yeah.
satisfies you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Okay. Does anybody else have any remarks or comments on this resolution? Dead silence. All right. Can I have a motion to approve Resolution 2020-16?
Motion to approve, this is Scott.
Second?
Jamie,
Mr. Caxton,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pisano,
Yes.
Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
Yes.
and Mrs. Lenhard.
Yes.
Resolution was approved.
Okay, moving right along to application 2020-18, Robert Romanski, the Queen City Cycle Boat. The applicant is seeking a minor site plan exemption approval to run a charter cycle boat out of the Morrison's Marina.
Hey, let me get that.
Right? Is he here or who's?
I'm here. He's here.
Okay.
Robert, are you there? Okay,
I'm here.
hold on a second. Let me just grab the file. Okay. All right, what we have, and this is the application 2020-17 Ocean City Cycle
18.
Boat. I have 17 written on mine. Is it
It's-
18?
It's 18.
Okay, I'll change it. Thank you. I got mine the 18th of November where it said 17. But anyway, so the application is going to be Exhibit A1. We have a copy of the newspaper advertisement, which is attached to the application. We have, as far as the application, we have a Queen City Cycle Boat. There's a written proposal. That'll all be part of the application. And then we have three. We have, let me see how many pages of photographs. Okay, we have
There you go. That's it.
3 pages of photographs. So it's going to be A2 will be a series of 3 photographs. We have A3 will be a series of 2 photographs. And then we have another set of, if I'm not mistaken, of 2 photographs, which will be A4. All right, Mr. Romanowski, why don't you tell the board what you propose to do? Bear with me one second. We do have a copy of the slippage, where this is going.
There it is.
I guess it's a portion of Morrison's Marina where it shows parking and it shows the slip. I can't read it, but it's 618, I think, but it's a yellow highlighted. That'll be A5. Okay, go ahead. Mr. Romanowski, you certify the testimony you give tonight will be true and accurate.
I do.
Okay, state your name, please.
Robert Romanowski.
Okay, tell the board what you have in mind, please.
So good evening and thank you for having me tonight. Basically what I'm proposing is a charter boat to run out of Morrison's Marina. It's a very specific kind of boat. You're all familiar with the pedal bike that goes around town. It's basically the same concept on the water. So it's a custom pontoon boat, it's 35 feet long. It has a central bar in the middle of it with 12 pedal stations around it. Each pedal station attaches to a central gearbox that rotates that paddle wheel in the rear of the boat. So you have that for propulsion. Everybody's first question is, well, do you have an engine? Is that your only way to get around? So yes, of course we have an engine. We need to get in and out of the slip. We need to have a navigable boat. So the cycling part is really just sort of a fun aspect to it. The boat itself holds up to 26 passengers plus 2 crew. So it'll be 1 captain, 1 crew member. There is a single person head in the back of the boat. There beyond the seating around that central bar is a lounge area in the front for seating for 12 people. So you got, and there's another seat in the back that you can fit another couple people too. So the max capacity is 26, but seated at that bar is 12, another 12 up front. So that's really the seating there. But it's slip 19, Mr. Snyder, not 619. So that's all the way into the corner, sort of at that southwest bulkhead, where the old restaurant site used to be, before you pass through a gate, where you head up to that north bulkhead, that west bulkhead. So close to the fuel dock. I apologize for my rudimentary drawing on the basin plan that the marina gave me, but it shows where a couple of the access gates in and out are. It shows where the trash and recycling bins are placed during the summer months. They're not there currently. They remove them. There are trash in several places, but that's the closest one. And in the shaded in green there, as you can see, is just areas where there's parking. I've counted upwards of 60 plus parking spaces along either side, combined along in that shaded area. So should be plenty of parking for who's there and us coming in. We're not supplying anything. It's BYO food and beverage. We're looking at doing 90-minute tours, hopefully 3 to 4 a day for running 6 days a week, roughly, depending on weather, of course. And where we'll go is, similar to what the Black Pearl does, just kind of leaving the marina basin there. And depending on weather and tide and all these things, we'll either head north first or south first. So heading north, we'll go to about 29th Street, tack around, head back south through Liberty Thoroughfare around Mordecai Island, and then come back. Between, the engine basically in forward and people pedaling just to have fun, the thing's going about 5 or 6 miles an hour. So that takes about 90 minutes. I've timed it. That's basically it.
You have sufficient life vests for 26 people?
Yeah, it's a Coast Guard certified vessel. They're currently building it. So I won't have this thing until hopefully mid-May, but June 1 is the target date. But yeah, it's a Coast Guard inspected vehicle. So it's approved for that capacity, yes.
Anybody else on the committee have a question?
I was just curious if this was a business that, like how it was cultivated. Is it something that's pre-existing in another area along the Jersey Shore? Was it just an idea that Rob came up with? What's the genesis? What's the origin of this?
So I discovered this thing a couple of years ago. I've kind of been looking for, a small niche seasonal business that I live across the street from the marina. My in-laws own the marina. So it kind of made sense that maybe we could do something in there. And I kind of discovered these boats a couple of years ago and was certainly interested, but it sort of went by the wayside. And then I got a little bit more serious at the end of the spring, early summer, and started looking into it more. I discovered there's really 2 manufacturers in the country, one down in Florida and one in Oregon. And through all my research, the manufacturer in Florida was just far superior. And had a chance to go down there in the beginning of November and get out on one. Someone who had just finished theirs and they were taking it up to Charleston. So they're operating, to answer your question, in I think about 50 markets throughout the country. There are none on the Jersey Shore. So we would have the first one. There is one in New Jersey. There's one that runs in the Hudson out of Hoboken. But we would have the only one on the shore. So just sort of another just sort of a fun entertainment style thing to get people
Right.
down into our town and to get them down to the Maritime District, which we've been talking
Right.
about for years as a place we want to attract more people to.
Yeah, Rob, I just had one other question. I didn't see it on the drawing initially, and here it's not as clear as well, but I'm looking at, there's one picture where the boat's horizontal, and I'm looking at the starboard side of it. In the back of the picture below on the right, there's red lettering on it. Is that a head back there? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me. There is a single head in the rear of the boat.
Ah, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, just to the port side of that helm station back there, you can see the antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the helm station, and then right to would be to my port is a single head.
Okay.
Is this BYOB and BYO food?
Correct.
And you have adequate trash receptacles on board for that debris?
Yeah, we'll keep small trash receptacles on board, and then just sort of clear everything out between trips. There, if you can see on that middle photo there, where you're looking at the bar towards the helm station and the head, in the center of that is a trough, and that in that trough is a series of coolers. So we'll supply all the ice into those coolers, and then people can just drop their drinks in there, and
okay,
just use it that way. But yes, we'll have a series of receptacles to gather our trash and recycling, and then haul that out and clean up everything between trips.
And you plan to separate garbage from recycling?
Yeah, we'll do as best we can with that. Sure.
Okay.
You'll be using Morrison's own receptacles, trash receptacles?
We'll be using their dumpster.
Yeah.
There's a trash and recycling dumpster that they keep right to the east of where the old restaurant site is. And so there's a photo of that area. There's no dumpster there right now because they remove it in the off season, but it's literally 50 feet away.
And that's sufficient for them and the addition of all your trash too? It's large enough to hold
certainly believe
everybody?
so. Yeah, it's a full-size trash and recycling dumpster. I can't imagine we're gonna have an issue with that. Okay. That's the area where it is. You can see in that photo there. And that photo is taken from the slip. I just turned around and grabbed that shot. So.
And just so we're clear, on the application, you're telling us your hours of operation are noon to 9 p.m.?
Yes.
And you're going to limit the operation to those hours, and that no more than 3 employees at any given time?
Yeah, it's never going to be, in terms of the employees, it's only ever going to be one captain and one mate. I may have to hire multiple mates, and that's the reason for the 1 to 3. But it's not going to be more than 2 people at a time. That won't be necessary. As far as the hours are concerned, yeah, I mean, I suppose I don't have any interest in taking this thing out late at night. That's not really. I got 2 kids at home that I like to see once in a while, so I don't want to take this thing out, into the night. And also I want to keep, I want to stay friends with my neighbors at Morrison's. So I'm not interested in taking this thing out overly late. I think I would want to try to expand that to maybe 10 o'clock in the event of the fireworks and things like that. If I take out a group for the fireworks, they don't go off till 9:15. So,
excuse me,
That,
does
and
the
for the
boat
off
have
chance you
lights
get-
on it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I'm sorry, say again.
Does the boat have lights on it?
It does, yes.
Okay.
This is Don Cassis. Does the boat have a sound system, or are you going to be playing music?
It does, yes. It's got a Bluetooth sound system, so either I can play it or customers can bring their own music.
Will the music be playing while it's docked, or only once it goes out to on the bed?
I mean, my thought would be it would be at a low decibel while we're in the Marina Basin, and then as soon as we're out, we can turn it up a little bit louder. Yeah, I'm not trying to anger any of my neighbors in Morrison's.
That's what I was wondering about. Okay.
Any more questions before I open it to the public?
Do you plan on having an established account with CETO no matter how careful you are, everyone runs aground now and again.
Sure. Well, I'm an avid boater and I have a Boat US
Okay.
account, so I'm sure I can add another boat.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Sea-tow, Boat US, whatever. Just
Yeah.
a means of pulling you off the bar for personal safety.
Yeah. Hopefully we're not hitting any bars, but yes, I'm with you.
Any more questions? Okay, can I have a motion to open this to the public, please?
So moved.
I second, Penny.
Okay, Colleen, do you have anybody from the public that would like to ask questions of this gentleman?
Anyone from the public? You can either unmute yourself, please turn on your video. If you would like to speak, there is also a raise hand option as well. Last call for comment.
Bob, this is Bob here.
Okay.
Bob Curran. I just got one question here. As a resident of Beach Haven.
Don't you have to give your name and address, Bob?
Yeah,
Stu?
Bob Curran, 217 Norwood Avenue.
Okay.
I have a question. When a project starts on the island, is there a given time frame for that project to end?
Project.
What do you
No.
mean? What
Well,
is
like I got a home that's going up and going next door.
No, Bob.
Yeah.
This is not about a home going up near you. This is about the boat slip and the boat.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
I
I'm
apologize.
sorry, Bob, what's your last name?
Yeah, Bob Curran, Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Curran. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I just had a question, that's all.
Okay. Anybody in the public have a question about this application?
There
No?
seems to be no public comment.
Okay. Then we'll close, a motion to close the public comment.
Motion to close, Scott.
Second?
Second, Penny.
All right. Does anybody on the board have any more discussion about this application before we make a motion to? Nope. Okay, can I have a motion to approve this application?
Motion to approve.
Second, Scott.
Joe and Scott?
Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Caxton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pisano,
Yes.
Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
Yes.
Mrs. Lenhard,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles.
Yes.
Application was approved.
Congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, the next application is 2020-19. That's one of our board members, Jerry Jenna, 329 and 331 Holyoke Avenue.
Hi, good evening. James Raven on behalf of the applicant Gerard Jenna and Matthew Snyder.
Mhm.
Give me a moment, Mr. Raven, please.
Sure.
Mr. Raven, we're going to enter the evidence tonight. The application will be Exhibit A1. We were provided with a plan from KTP Consulting which was dated on November 9th, 2020. I don't know if all the board members received, there was an updated plan submitted. I received it, I guess I received it today, if I'm not mistaken, and it stated, it stated November 9th. Let me see if we put a revision date on it.
Dude, there's no revision date on it.
Yeah,
But
what
it
we
is-
ended up, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Snyder. What we ended up doing was just having the updated plans replace the prior plan, so there was no revision date.
All right, so I'll mark the one I received in December. That'll be A2. But there's no way to, what's the difference between them, Mr. Rabin, so the board's aware of what we're,
The updated plan the purpose was to demonstrate that. I just realized I'm looking at an old one. Sorry, bear with me 1 minute.
I want to give you a trick question. It's just,
Jim, if you'd like me to comment, I can comment on that.
No, I can provide the explanation. Originally, it was not clear on the plans that were submitted that the existing improvements at the site are going to be demolished. So we submitted a revised plan to reflect the fact that all the improvements on both lots would be demolished, and also the proposed lot numbers were incorrect on the plans that were originally submitted. So that's the correct updated plan that's being shown there now, which shows the proposed lot numbers as 13.01 and 15.01. The original plan that was submitted had the lot fronting on West Avenue as proposed as new lot 15.01. So we corrected that to reflect 13.01.
okay.
So that's the difference.
Thank you. So we have the plan. The plan is going to be marked into evidence as exhibit A2. And have you reviewed Mr. Little's letter?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to be marked into evidence as exhibit B1. All the board members have the letter?
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right, Mr. Rabin.
Thank you. So the site is located at the corner of Holyoke Avenue and West Avenue. It's the northeast corner. So currently lot 13 fronts on West Avenue. That's a 50 by 100 foot lot. And then lot 14 that is behind lot 13 is actually merged with lot 13. They were deeded originally together. So lot 13 and 14 are currently one taxed lot. And then lot 15 is a separate 25 by 100 foot lot that fronts on Holyoke Avenue, which is a non-conforming lot under the zoning ordinance. So what the applicant is proposing to do is they're applying for a conforming minor subdivision where lots 14 and 15 would basically make up new proposed lot 15.01, and the existing lot 13 would become proposed lot 13.01. So it's going to be two 50 by 100 foot lots, with one of them fronting on West Avenue and one of them fronting on Holyoke Avenue. And there's no variances proposed with the application. And the existing improvements, as I stated, would be demolished, and the applicant is proposing to construct two new homes on the two properties that will conform to all the bulk zoning requirements. And the Mr. Jenna and Mr. Snyder are the owners now of both lots. So that's the overview. John Lord is present, who is the engineer that prepared the minor subdivision plan. Mr. Jenna and Mr.
What is his name, Mr. Rabin? John Lord?
John Lord.
Okay, Mr. Lord, do you certify the testimony you give tonight will be true and accurate?
Yes, I do.
State your name, please.
John W. Lord, L-O-R-D.
Mr. Lord, you're a licensed professional engineer?
And
Professional
surveyor, engineer and surveyor.
I think Mr. Lord's testified previously in Beach Haven
Yes, I have.
years ago.
Yeah,
Your
yes, I have.
licenses are current in that capacity,
Yes, they are, sir.
and you're a KTP Consulting LLC. You're a member of that LLC or an
Yes.
employee?
Yeah, an employee, yes.
Right. And I have no objection to Mr. Lord, Madam Chair, testifying in the capacity as a professional engineer and a professional licensed surveyor, land surveyor, I'm sorry. Mr. Raven, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Lord, we've marked as Exhibit A2 a minor subdivision plan. Was that prepared by you or under your supervision?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and I've given an overview of the project. Would you go in a little more detail for the board as to what's proposed at the site?
You pretty much said everything I was going to say, but basically the two lots are one now because of the rules concerning adjoining lots and things. We're going to tear down the two existing houses and build two new houses that conform to the setbacks and other requirements of the town. And that's, I mean, that's really the proposal, so.
And do you have a copy of Mr. Little's review letter?
No, I don't have one.
Okay.
Can we get it up on the screen, maybe?
Yeah, and I don't think there's actually much in there really to cover. There were no plans provided for the proposed homes because they're both going to conform.
Conforming lot.
Right.
Required.
So this is Frank Little. The only thing that I want to add is that we are going to require curb and sidewalk on all the frontages of the property. The current plan is showing existing conditions with the two
Yeah.
subdivided lots. So
That is correct.
we want to make sure that's a condition of the approval that curb and sidewalk are provided, along with the designated parking spaces for each lot.
Correct. But we have no problem with that.
Other than that, everything else in the letter, you should be able to comply with.
And the curb cuts will comply with our ordinance.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the subdivision?
What about the water and sewer? Is that a revised plan, or can that be taken up at
That'll be taken up at the time of the plot plans with the building department, because we don't know exactly what the alignment of the houses will be or exactly how they'll connect, but they'll be required to make application for water and sewer hookups through the town.
Okay.
This Jim Stevens. Always nice to see a non-conforming use become a conforming use. My only real question is does there have to be a bond posted to ensure that these structures are torn down as a condition?
Yes, there'll be a bond estimate, subject to the approval. The applicant has the choice of demoing everything before he records the map. If he doesn't do that, we prepare a bond estimate for the new curb, sidewalk improvements, water, sewer laterals, and the demolition of the structures. Most applicants usually try to take care of the demo because we have to put a decent number on that item. But yes, there will be a bond estimate for the subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
This is Don Caxis. I have a question. After the demolition, what is the timing on the construction of the new home? I'm concerned that the lots may be left vacant for a long period of time.
Why don't we swear in either Mr. Jenna or Mr. Snyder?
Gentlemen, Mr. Jenna, Mr. Snyder, do you certify any testimony you give tonight will be true and accurate?
Yes,
State your name, please.
Gerard Jenna.
Thank you. Go
And
ahead.
Mr. Jenna, you and Mr. Snyder currently own both lots, is that correct?
That is correct.
And there was a question from Mr. Caxis regarding the proposed construction. Do you have an idea? Obviously, we would need to have the subdivision map filed. Do you know after that point how soon you'll begin building?
We'd like to begin building as soon as possible, and our time frame and thoughts right now are starting in February.
Thank you.
2021. For both houses.
I have a question. If you're starting in February, do you already have the plans for the houses? And if you did, why wouldn't you put them on your application?
So I've already met with a few architects and we are on a schedule to have the architectural plans completed very soon. Well, not very soon, but within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I have a question. How come with other subdivisions, we have to see the plans with the subdivisions and this one we don't?
Only when there's variances, Jamie. If it's a conforming subdivision, we do not require architectural plans.
Okay, thank you.
That if there's a variance, we require them, and that follows suit, I think, in most towns. And I don't know if it's covered in the land use law, but if it's a non-conforming lot that's being created, we want to see what they're doing to offset the non-conformities and how they're working to scale. A conforming subdivision, they have to build according to all of our ordinances, unless they seek a variance. If they ask for a variance, they would have given us plans.
And we are not seeking a variance. We're going to build a conforming house there, so.
Right.
This
Any
is
other question?
I've got a question for
Okay.
Stu. As you know, I'm in the neighborhood. In fact, the Holyoke property, the northeast corner touches the northwest corner of the Holyoke property touches the southwest corner of my property.
Well, then you can ask your question, but I think you have to disqualify from
Right, that's what I was going to
participating.
say. I don't believe I'm allowed to vote on this.
You're
right?
not allowed to vote on this, and
Okay.
if you're talking as a member of the public at this point, because I think if you have questions, why don't we wait till the public portion, Scott? Because really,
No, I'm not asking questions.
to
but I just
recuse
wanted to
yourself.
make clear that up for the record.
Thank you. So Scott Herensky has recused himself from this application.
Okay.
And the record should reflect that.
Did Scott get a letter?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Two, one for me and one
He
for my
joins
wife.
the property.
yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other questions before I open it to the public for comment?
No.
Nope. Okay, I'll make a motion to open it to the public.
I so move, Penny.
Second,
Second.
Don Cox, the second.
do we have anybody in the public that would like to comment on this subdivision?
Anyone in the public would like to speak?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Motion to close it to the public.
Close it to the public. Don,
Second, Penny.
All right, do I have a motion to approve this application for subdivision?
So moved.
I'll make a motion to approve, Joe,
Joe and Nancy?
whatever.
I'll second.
Either, it doesn't matter.
Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Caxtus,
yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pisano,
Yes,
Mr. Meadow. Oh, I'm sorry. Skip that. Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mrs. Lenhard,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes.
and Mr. Chinquist.
Yes.
Application was approved.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy building.
Thank you.
Last but not least, before we adjourn the meeting tonight, I'd like to announce that Don Cactus is resigning from the Land Use Board. He's served on this board for 10 years or so, and tonight will be his last meeting. I personally have always valued Don's insight, knowledge, experience, and his opinions while he was serving on the board. I think we all thank him for the time and the service that he's given to his community. And Don, we wish you the very best in the future, and we will certainly miss you.
No, I miss you guys too, and have a great holiday season.
Thank you, Don.
Same to
Thank
you,
you.
Don.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Yep, I totally want to reiterate everything Bonnie said. Thank you, Don.
All right, that being said, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
On one last.
Any- Oh,
Good night, everybody, and Merry Christmas.
Yep.
yes,
Bye.
happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you in
Good night,
January.
everybody. Merry Christmas.
Bye all.
Thank you.